time to get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
Ain't it a grand old time to be an Oklahoma football fan, folks? The Sooners are in position to secure a college football playoff berth this weekend should they forge past a downtrodden LSU Tigers team. National Signing Day, or I should say early signing day, is next Wednesday. The Sooners are in line to ink what will absolutely be a top 20 class, what is likely to be a top 15 class, and what may very well be a top 10 class. And we are less than 24 hours removed from Oklahoma flipping a national top 5 prospect at the running back position in Jonathan Hatton, who was for a long time committed to Oklahoma, but backed off that pledge last winter and had been committed for about the last 8 months to Texas A&M. The Sooners will be hosting several official visitors this weekend as they look to close the 2026 cycle with a flourish. And Grayson Singleton, what is becoming apparent here is that Jim Nagy is in villain mode.
I would say Jim Nagy's just in his bag.
He is in his bag, man. Like, it's been a while since Oklahoma had this kind of juice down the stretch. We touched on this a little bit yesterday, but there are certain programs that always make a late push the last week and a half, 2 weeks leading up to signing day and try to make some big stuff happen. Oklahoma is a school that, for one reason or another, really hasn't done that in general in the past. They obviously had some late flips in the 2022 cycle right when Brent Venables got to town. That's only natural that was going to happen. As you're seeing with James Franklin and Virginia Tech, anytime you get a big-name head coach at a P4 program, the first couple of months, he's going to reap the benefits on the recruiting trail of just the aura and the prestige that his name carries in conjunction with his new employer. And so with the exception of that 2022 cycle where Oklahoma closed really strong, for the most part, there's been precious little action close to signing day for the Sooners. Obviously, the Peyton Bowen saga was miraculous. Very fortunate, especially now. I'd consider Oklahoma probably even more fortunate now than he did back then to have landed Peyton Bowen. Eddie Pierre-Louis was a guy who committed, I think, 5 or 6 days before signing day. But that's really it, man. There hasn't been a ton of late movement in Oklahoma's classes throughout the BV era. There's going to be some late movement here in 2026.
Well, for you to have that really sexy late movement, generally you have to surprise people, right? Or there has to be a change that would get people to think about you differently. And Oklahoma just hasn't had that. They haven't had those prerequisites that would encourage some late movement. Not like they do this year. Because this year was the year where the staff had to prove, hey, whether or not we're going to be here in the future. And once you have solidified that, then all of a sudden, in conjunction with a new and improved front office, the front office that I think is the best personnel department in the country right now, and I don't think it's close at this particular moment in time, and you combine that with all the winning and especially how good the defense looks and how good the culture is, you finally put everything together really for the first time in this Brent Venables era. And to me, that's why it's no surprise. Like, you get all those things that happen, cool. Now we can think about your program a little bit different. I want to come join this. I thought I wanted to go here, but this seems pretty cool. So, to me, it's no surprise that we have bucked the trend recently.
You're already starting to see Jim Nagy and that front office flex their collective muscles with the addition of Hatton yesterday. But I will say, talking to a couple well-placed program sources yesterday after we got off the air, one of the things that I was told very explicitly, one source told me, hey, look, with the processes that Nagy has in place, with everything that he has lined up, all the relationships that he has, all the connections that he has, and just his know-how in terms of being able to attack situations like this, if we want a guy down the stretch, we're going to go get him. And oh, by the way, OU ain't broke, people. OU ain't broke.
So Oklahoma isn't a thing?
That is not a thing. And now, especially because Oklahoma's in the championship hunt here in 2025, resources are getting deployed. Because it's becoming very apparent to the people who control those resources that Oklahoma is entering a championship window. And it's a lot easier to deploy resources and to convince the powers that be to deploy those resources when you can objectively say, hey, look, we are this close to competing for a championship. Hey, we are in this conversation. We are going to be in this conversation in the years ahead as long as we can maintain.
I mean, I don't think the listeners are going to like you saying that we're close, but, you know, that is the reality of the situation. It's a lot easier to get people to stick their money into something that might be a winner than otherwise would be.
Before we go any further, I want to remind you, if you want to chime in throughout the show, please do so via the text line, 405-651-3439. The show is brought to you today and every day by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno. If you're shopping around for a new vehicle, check out Dorsey Jones because GMC offers some of the most reliable trucks and SUVs on the road today. And Dorsey Jones, family owned and operated, can offer you phenomenal service, including their famous half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Go check them out. And also, a shout-out to Pineco Landscapes. Christmas is drawing near. The holiday season officially begins on Friday. Folks, we let Thanksgiving have its day around here. But on Friday, the holiday season is officially upon us. Don't get up on your own roof to hang Christmas lights. That can get dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. Let Pineco and Hunter Austin put up your lights at your business or house. Ref Radio approved, folks. Pineco put our lights up here at the station. 405-708-8141. Give them a call or shoot them a text for a quote. Servicing Norman, Moore, and Oklahoma City.
You ever put Christmas lights up by yourself or on your own?
In my childhood days, I helped my dad with it. It was harrowing. I don't love heights.
Neither do I.
I wouldn't say I'm afraid of heights.
Oh, I am.
But I do not enjoy being up on the roof. I'll say that. It's not like, it's not like I'm sitting there with my heart in my throat over the whole situation. But, I find it a little bit uncomfortable to be up high.
You like roller coasters?
I do not like roller coasters.
I hate them.
Yeah?
Oh, no, I can't do them.
Yeah, not a big roller coaster guy. Boomer Tuner, good question. If we ain't Broklahoma, why did Ja'Cory Smith decommit? He said OU lowered his NIL offer. Well, Boomer Tuner, here's the brutal reality of the situation. Opinions in the Oklahoma circle about Ja'Cory Smith kind of changed. And so the best way to make it clear to a prospect that it's probably in both parties' interest to go your separate ways is just to tell them, hey, we're not going to pay you as much money as we once were. And at that point, they kind of take the hint, right? And I think Ja'Cory Smith did.
Now, I will say for him to put that quote out there that, hey, yo, they lowballed me to the extent of where it sounded like, yo, they are disrespecting me. Like, that's not something you necessarily want out there in the ether. But
it's not. But that's the cost of doing business.
Exactly. But like they're in a situation where they can overcome that and talk people around and be like, yo, this is what actually happened.
Bobby and BA with a very currently pertinent question. Asking Parker, will Jaden Petite drag out to signing day or will he announce soon? I'll tell you this. I expect a resolution on the Jaden Petite front by the end of this week. I do not think it takes until National Signing Day. Finally starting to feel like, to quote Jaron Canick, we're close. We're close to finding out where Jaden Petite's going to play his college football, and I do think it's going to be the University of Oklahoma. On that note, I wanted to take you all back because I know not all of you are doom and gloom texters or doom and gloom listeners. But obviously there is a vocal minority. There always is. And the vocal minority was melting down over the summer about Oklahoma's recruiting efforts in an overall sense, especially at wide receiver. And on July 12th of this year of our Lord 2025, I authored a piece at OUinsider.com titled, "Is Oklahoma's wide receiver recruiting becoming a worry?" I'm going to quote myself here. Shall I? I think I shall. Basically, at that point, I was just taking stock of the wide receiver targets that Oklahoma just missed on, one of whom was Jaden Petite, and essentially trying to establish what level of validity there was to the level of alarm that some of the fans were sounding about wide receiver recruiting. Here is some of what I wrote. Quote, "Per multiple sources, other programs have weaponized Oklahoma's abysmal 2024 campaign on the recruiting trail. That's especially been the case at wide receiver, and frankly, there's little the Sooners can do to combat other schools' negative recruiting tactics. Last year happened. One program source told OU Insider. It happened. There's nothing we can do about it. We had 6 receivers hurt and 6 receivers transfer. Now we got to play well this fall and win games. That's the only way we can prove those narratives wrong." I went on to write, "There's still 5 months to go in the 2026 recruiting cycle. Whether it's identifying a late riser or working to flip a target committed elsewhere, the Sooners will have options come the fall. The overall sentiment within the Switzer Center is that winning games this fall will solve many of Oklahoma's problems, not the least of which is the program's lean wide receiver class. Patience is not something that comes naturally to many college football fans, but it's a necessary approach with a program that has much to prove in 2025. And in the meantime, the Sooners are more than content to sit tight. They have an elite quarterback commit in Bo Bentley, a dynamic young coordinator in Ben Arbuckle, and a seasoned technician of a wideouts coach in Emmett Jones. They're confident the victories will come on the recruiting trail this fall, but victories on the gridiron will have to come first." Well, now, if that isn't exactly where we are here on November 25th, Oklahoma has won games on the football field, and they are reaping the benefits on the recruiting trail. And Jasir Rogers, that was a name Oklahoma fans didn't even know, and they had no reason to know at the time in mid-July. But again, you win games, you can take big swings, and when you have a recruiting staff and a front office as good at their jobs as everyone on staff at Oklahoma currently is, you'll connect on some of those big swings.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, people want to hitch their career to winners, right? If you can prove that you win, at that point, the program will sell itself. The interlocking ONU will sell itself as long as you have a staff that has said, we can carry on the tradition and we can win football games. That's all you got. And then in this day and age, pay them respectably. Pay people what their value is. Don't lowball a bunch of people. Don't cheap out. And it seems like Oklahoma's done all of that. They've checked all the boxes. And now you just let the OU Sooners say, you want to be a Sooner, and it'll work out for you.
While we wait for feedback, of which we are already collecting quite a bit on the text line at 405-651-3439, let's wrap up the opening segment here with Trivia Tuesday. As always, Grayson Singleton, I will give you the choice. Fun little game we play every Tuesday. I give Grayson a trivia question. He gives me one.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask the question first or answer the question first?
I will ask the question first.
Okay, bring it on.
All right. So, the last time Oklahoma held Missouri without an offensive touchdown, like they did this weekend, the last time that happened, the Missouri quarterback was 18 of 38 for 169 yards, and like Bo Pribula, threw 2 interceptions. Who was this quarterback?
Oh, man. I'm going to ask for a hint here.
Okay, go for it.
You don't have to give me the year, but give me the decade.
Give you the decade. It was the 1990s.
1990s. I couldn't even tell you who played quarterback for Missouri in the 1990s. I'm waving the white flag on this one. Give up. Who was it?
Okay, so Jim Daugherty. I hope I pronounced that right.
Who?
Jim Daugherty? Daugherty, however you pronounce that word.
Never heard of that man in my life. Congratulations. You stumped me today.
You got my one last week, didn't you?
That is true. Yes. My 1 game correct streak, my 1 week correct streak has fallen, folks.
It was 99. Jason from Miami on the text line did get that.
99. Wow.
Yes,
okay.
it was.
Good work, Jason. I think you'll be able to correctly answer this one.
Okay,
it's a pretty easy one, all things considered.
Okay.
So, obviously, the situation that we are up against is, should Oklahoma defeat LSU this weekend, they will more than likely be hosting a college football playoff game on either December 19th or December 20th. It will not be the first time. It'll obviously be the latest home game Oklahoma has ever hosted at Owen Field, latest on the calendar, that is. But it will be far from the first time that Oklahoma hosted a home football game in Norman in the month of December. They've done so many a time in the past. Can you recall the last time it happened?
That OU hosted a home game in December. Oh, okay. Hosted a home game in December, because most of the time the season's over by that point.
Most of the time it is.
Was this in 2020?
It was in 2020. Good work.
Jeez, who did they play?
It was Baylor.
Yeah, it was
They hosted
Baylor. Yes,
Baylor.
Yes.
Won that game 27-14 on the 5th of December. They actually were supposed to go to West Virginia the following week to make up a game that had been postponed from November. And ultimately, that game was just pulled off the schedule entirely.
Yes, I remember this.
So, yeah, it actually, for several years, when the Big 12 wasn't playing a championship game because they only had 10 teams,
right?
For several years, Oklahoma would play a game, and occasionally it would be Bedlam the first weekend of December. So, like Tyreek Hill's punt return,
that
when
was
they
in
re-kicked
December.
it to
Yes.
Tyreek Hill, that was in December too. So, yes, but the last time Oklahoma hosted a home game in the month of December was indeed 2020 when they hosted Baylor. I don't remember much of what happened that day. I remember Trey Norwood picked off a pass. He picked off a lot of passes that year.
He did. One last text before we get out of here. Chris from OK, Oklahoma says, since you mentioned Jaden Petite, does he give you DK Metcalf vibes? I know that's big shoes, but man, I see all of it there. I'll give you who my pro comp would be for him.
Let's hear it.
George Pickens.
Wow.
George Pickens would be, and I was watching the film before we came on and finishing it while we were on. He looks a lot like what George Pickens has looked like for Dallas. Hopefully he doesn't have the temperament of George Pickens. But
from my interactions with Petite, he doesn't seem to be a big ego type of guy. He seems to be a very Oklahoma type of guy.
Okay, there you go.
Not going to be a prima donna at wideout. But who knows? George Pickens, though, I tell you, man, I'm the Sam Presti of fantasy football.
Did you draft George Pickens this year?
I did not draft George Pickens. I was getting clowned by all of my league mates because I traded Saquon Barkley midseason straight up for George Pickens. Now George Pickens is the number 2 wide receiver in the entire NFL in terms of fantasy production, and my team's rolling.
That's a good move.
Dang straight. 405-651-3439 is the text line. Hit us up. Let's hear from our sponsors here, and we'll be back on the other side. Keep it here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
This is Deion Burks, and you're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
After a car crash, life can be hard. You're hurt, stressed, and then, when you need help the most, the insurance company doesn't care.
They drag their feet, question your injuries, and make things difficult. They put profits over people.
At McIntyre Law, we level the playing field. We take on the billion-dollar insurance companies so you can focus on what matters, getting your life back. Call us at 405-777-7000. You deserve better.
They don't want to hire you because your paper might say Oklahoma School for the Blind.
I was just completely homebound because I was always too afraid to go outside. I want to be a productive member of society, and that's what DRS has given me.
They offer you opportunities to getting a job, helping you learn how to advocate for yourself, find the best way to try living your life in the fullest way possible.
Oklahoma and DRS has been the biggest blessing in my life.
See me.
And not my disability.
Let's talk turkey. Riverwind is OKC's favorite place to play.
And we've got plenty of jackpots to be thankful for.
Why stop at one thrill when you can chase all 3 at once?
Play blackjack, baccarat, and roulette on our all-new gaming machine.
Looking for the best in rewards? Elevate your player status when you win with your wild card.
Fridays in November, play for your share of our $120,000 Pixel Power giveaway.
Expect the best at Riverwind.
90 days, no payment during Happy Honda Days at Eskridge Honda. Right now, you can drive home in a new 2025 Honda Accord Sport Hybrid for just $349 per month. That's right, only $349 per month on new Accords, or 2.99% for up to 60 months. 90 days, no payment during Happy Honda Days at 89th and I-35 or online at eskridgehonda.com.
Stock number 5084, 10,000 mile, 36-month lease, $49.99 down plus DTNL, WAC3 HFS. See dealer for details.
Life is yours to spend. Spend it making more money. Spend it making more memories. Spend it learning a new skill. Spend it teaching an old trick. Spend it career climbing. Spend it mountain climbing. First United Bank. Spend life wisely.
Hey, this is Tyler McComas with The Rush, and I just found a place locally that I've got to tell you golfers about. It's called Land Run Links in Oklahoma City, and it's the most advanced, immersive indoor golf experience that you're going to find. It's like a golf simulator, but it's a lot better, and it's going to help your game a lot more. But hey, even if you're terrible at the game of golf like I am, this is awesome for all levels. Check them out, landrunlinks.com, especially with the cold weather approaching in Oklahoma. Landrunlinks.com. Check them out today.
What's up, Ref Army? Darinoka here, the SEC Network, and your newest host here at the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Spend your late mornings with me and Josh Helmer every weekday from 9 to noon as we talk everything Sooners, and I'll help you all keep tabs on what's happening in the rest of the SEC. The Ref is the home for the best coverage of anything and everything Sooners, and you can listen worldwide on the KREF app. Check us out in your Apple or Google Play store by searching for KREF, and take us anywhere you go. That's the KREF app for the Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Hey, this is OEC Fiber. Tired of contracts, hidden fees, and support calls that send you halfway around the world? At OEC Fiber, what you see is what you get. No contracts, no fine print. Just fast, reliable internet that's backed by a local support team that picks up when you call. You're not just an account to us, you're our neighbor. So ditch the gimmicks and get fiber internet that's honest. Visit OECfiber.com to check availability. OEC Fiber, internet that puts its people first.
I genuinely want to know what some of the people I went to college with do for work these days.
Same here.
Because it's a very common phenomenon, actually. You know, you go to college with people, at least in my experience, you have friends that you stay close with over the years, and then you have people that you just kind of said hey in the hallway to, that you follow on social media for the years to come and kind of track them from afar. And there are so many people I went to college with, I should say, that I have no idea what their professional lives look like, and I have to wonder what they are doing occupationally. Because it's like every single week they're in some big city, taking photos, going to clubs, dressing up.
Yep.
In all these elaborate fits. I'm like, what is funding this lifestyle?
Yep.
I know what you got your degree in. It's the same thing I got my degree in. I ain't flying to New Orleans one week and L.A. the next and New York City after that. I have to wonder.
Man, I'm still at the point where I got one vacation scheduled, and we'll be here the rest of the year.
I feel like that's just like the typical human life, right? The typical human existence consists of, all right, you got your annual work calendar kind of charted out, and you block off one vacation. It's always how it was for me growing up.
Yep.
We took one vacation a year, and that was it.
I'll bet you your buddy's parents are still funding this.
Some of these folks, man, it's like they live their life on vacation.
Hey, maybe they're an influencer. You know, the word Steely hates.
The realist says, Parker, it's called marrying rich, LOL. None of these people are married. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe I've lost context for how much disposable income you have when you're single, and it's just a lot more than I ever realized. Who's to say? 405-651-3439 is the text line. We talked about Jaden Petite, and that is, I would say, probably the biggest fish left in the pond for Oklahoma down the stretch here, with Jonathan Hatton officially in the boat yesterday. Jaden Petite, the Wisconsin wide receiver commit, stands as the white whale, if you will, the elusive white whale that Oklahoma has been chasing for months and months and months, and now it feels as if they are closer than ever to finally coaxing him off that commitment to the Badgers. And, man, what an addition this would be for Oklahoma. Because I guess I haven't really been cognizant of it, at least not as cognizant as I probably should have been. But Oklahoma's hit rate amongst skill position players that they have recruited over the last 5-6 years is alarmingly low. Alarmingly low. Think about the guys that see time right now for Oklahoma at the skill positions. Xavier Robinson, Torrey Blaylock, okay, those were guys Oklahoma recruited out of high school. That's great. The wide receivers, Deion Burks, Isaiah Satania, Giovanni Gibson, Jermichael Carter, all those guys were transfer pickups. Think about the tight end position. The guy that's really emerged as of late has been Caden Helms, and that's great. He's a guy that took the long road at Oklahoma and was willing to wait his turn, and what Jaron Kanik has done in his lone season since switching over from defense to offense has been remarkable, but that room is rife with transfers as well. You got Will Huggins there in the mix. You got Carson Kent there in the mix as well. And in that running back room, beyond X and Torrey Blaylock, you have Jaden Ott sitting there. Feels like Oklahoma has just gotten in an annual rhythm of bringing in a transfer running back, because before that it was Sam Franklin, and then before that it was Tawi Walker. And, man, the amount of homegrown skill position players that have boomed for Oklahoma in the recent past, I mean, that's a very limited group that you're talking about there. It's a very small group. But with the way that Oklahoma's recruiting the skill positions right now in the 2026 class, that'll get you really, really excited. Because there are dudes, the likes of which you have not had in a while on the roster here in Norman. Jonathan Hatton, a top 100 running back prospect. And, okay, people are going to say, well, Taylor Tatum was a top 100 running back prospect. I'm assuming Jonathan Hatton's career trajectory is not going to mirror that of Taylor Tatum. I think that's a fair and safe assumption to make. DeZephan Walker, man. Another blue chipper there at running back. A stud who brings a ton of speed and explosiveness to the table. At wide receiver, you have a couple guys in Xavier Okafuleze and Braden Allen that are probably a little bit more developmental takes in nature. Guys that you're going to wait 2 or 3 years and see what they can turn into before you're rushing them out there in all likelihood. But if you wind up with Daniel Odom and Jasir Rogers and Jaden Petite, that's a baller wide receiver class, man.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And then the question becomes, what do you do with them next? And this year, especially with how Isaiah Satania has played, you get the talented guys. This coaching staff can do some decent stuff with it. Like, I know that Emmett Jones is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But in terms of getting the right players on the field, and by the way, I think Isaiah Satania, when it's all said and done, will credit Emmett Jones for getting him to the NFL, if that is going to be in the future, because he's had his best collegiate season here in Norman, Oklahoma. Even though Emmett, I know, is not perfect. I get that. I get it's a polarizing topic. But if you can take what probably would be, Parker, the most college-ready wide receivers that they've been able to bring in one given class, in terms of making an impact early on, if they can take those dudes and turn them into stars, boy, now you're talking about a situation where Oklahoma may not have one of those game-changing wide receivers that we've been talking about, but potentially two if they're able to finish the flip for Petite and keep Odom on board.
Here's why wide receiver recruiting in particular matters. Because the alternative is obviously going to the portal. And if you're going to go to the portal for a wide receiver, and you're going to get a wide receiver that's worth anything, it's going to be expensive.
Very.
Really expensive. And Oklahoma's in a position right now where I can say this on good authority, they're getting ready to go spend the necessary money to land a big-time wide receiver in the transfer portal this offseason. But it's going to be one guy because that's kind of all you feel like Oklahoma needs at this point. Would I be right in making that judgment, Grayson?
I would say so.
With what you have coming back. Like, you're losing Keontez Lewis, you're losing Deion Burks. You may lose Isaiah Zadania. I don't think you're going to lose him, but...
Okay, stop right there.
You could.
You think Isaiah Satania comes back?
I do think so.
Okay.
Is it a foregone conclusion? Nope.
Huh.
But if he comes back, with what else Oklahoma currently has in that room, guys like Zion Kearney, Elijah Thomas, Manny Choice. I'll go back to Jermichael Carter. I'm very high on what he is and what he can be. You got a bunch of guys in that wide receiver room right now that feel like they're a year away from really hitting it big and becoming big-time players for this operation. Kearney and Thomas in particular are at the top of that list for me. I think Carter is already a guy that should be out there a lot more than he is. And Giovanni Gibson is he's going to be back next year. Giovanni Gibson's going to be back. By the way, loved talking to Giovanni Gibson last night at post-practice availabilities because he got asked very bluntly, hey, man, look, you got 13 catches for 92 yards this year, and you missed the first 4 games coming back from a lower leg injury. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about how this season has gone? Has it been a success in your mind? His exact answer was, I've never had a winning season, so this has been awesome. He said winning is the most important thing.
Yeah, it's a good answer.
I don't care what I'm doing personally. I don't care what kind of stats I'm putting up. As long as we're winning, as long as we're competing for a championship, that's what I care the most about.
And he's getting on the field and running routes too. And I am curious to see what a year 2 Giovanni Gibson in this system looks like. What a year 2 Jermichael Carter in this system looks like. Elijah Thomas probably gets more run in his sophomore year at wide receiver. And then you got the freshman coming in. Manny Choice might contribute next year. I don't know what all that looks like, but you've got some real talent that is set to come up for Oklahoma. It should be real interesting, and that's before you get to Petite and Odom coming in potentially as college-ready dudes.
Chris from OK Oklahoma says, hand up, I'd like to buy all the Elijah Thomas stock. Can't wait to get him a chance. That could be the guy that absolutely explodes next year for Oklahoma.
Sure.
That could very well be the guy that explodes. To me, and we're coming back to Nick Anderson here. Nick Anderson did virtually nothing in 2022 as a true freshman. He was banged up. He only appeared in a couple games, didn't catch a pass. 2023, boom. Elite production. Caught 10 touchdown passes. I can't recall what he wound up with yardage-wise. It was in the 700, 800 range. But Nick Anderson exploded out of nowhere, at least to the rest of the country. Locally, Oklahoma fans knew what Nick Anderson was and who he could be and what he could be in the Sooner scheme. But Elijah Thomas could be that guy next year in my mind, that if anybody is really going to wake the nation up to the reality that, Oklahoma's got a dog at wide receiver, it's going to be Elijah Thomas.
Yeah, it should be. It absolutely should be. It'll be a really good problem for that staff to have who to put on the field when. because it seems like they're going to have a surplus of talent there at that position.
A 732 listener says, Parker, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Likewise. I appreciate that. When you say OU is getting ready to pay up for one wideout in the portal, are we talking Cam Coleman pay up or more of a top 10 portal guy pay up? Look, I could sit here and tell you, yeah, if Cam Coleman gets in the portal, OU's going to go pay what it takes to land him. End of the day, I have no idea what the final asking price is going to be or what the highest price, the highest offer is going to be for a guy like Cam Coleman if he hits the portal. So I'm not going to direct your attention to one single guy and say, that's the guy Oklahoma's going to zero in on. That's the guy they're going to go and get. Because if we've learned anything about Jim Nagy's approach, is that he's not going to get caught up in the pursuit of one singular player such that you lose track of what else is out there. And if what you're trying to do is price assets and spend accordingly, then who's to say you might have a guy like a TJ Moore or Bryant Wesco from Clemson. Two guys that had existing relationships with OU from their high school recruitments. Guys like that might come at a little bit of a cheaper price point than Cam Coleman. So if that's the case, is Oklahoma really going to go toe-to-toe, blow for blow with Oregon and Miami for a guy like Cam Coleman if he's available, as opposed to just going and locking down somebody like TJ Moore and or Bryant Wesco if you can spend significantly less money to get better value for your investment? No, I don't think at that point Oklahoma is going to continue to fight the battle for whoever the number one wide receiver in the portal might be. So I think what you're looking at, to answer your question, is, yeah, you're looking at one of the top 10 receivers. I would imagine Oklahoma's probably going to be in conversations with and negotiating with several of those guys that are in the upper echelon. We'll see who they settle on, but make no mistake, Oklahoma is ready and willing to pay big money for a big-time transfer wide receiver.
And I'll go back to this. I said this in the early days of Jim Nagy and his regime taking over. When you have a personnel department, what is their chief job? Properly pricing commodities and making sure that you're getting the best ROI for whatever sorts of dollars you throw to somebody. So I'm going to go with what they think here. Would I love Cam Coleman? Hell yeah, I would. But if you can use that money better for something else, and somebody that, quite frankly, as a wide receiver, is still dependent upon a good quarterback, you might want to go somewhere like the TJ Moore route if he chooses to leave Clemson.
And maybe this goes without saying, given the past conversations we've had about the type of wide receiver that Jim Nagy seems to favor. But when we're talking big-time wideout in the portal this offseason, we're not talking Deion Burks, for instance, because he was the number one wide receiver in the portal when Oklahoma went and got him in January of 2024 out of the portal, or December of 2023, whatever that was. But Deion Burks is a 5'10 slot guy, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to be the archetype that Oklahoma pursues this time around. They're going to go for somebody that, I'm not saying it's Cam Coleman, but somebody that fits the Cam Coleman mold or the TJ Moore mold, or I don't even want to say the Jeremiah Smith mold because that's not even a mold, but you get the picture. 405-651-3439. One final segment of Locked In coming up. We missed out. Had such a jam-packed show yesterday. We did not make it around to 0 days since our last nonsense. And so we will discuss the day's nonsense coming up here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Keep it right here.
Locked In is brought to you every day by Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno. Dorsey Jones GMC is family-owned and operated with a knowledgeable, low-pressure sales staff here to help you through the buying process and half-price oil changes on Saturdays. Visit dorsey-jonesgmc.com for more information.
Insurance companies aren't in the business of saving you money. They're in the business of taking your money. Hi, this is Will Gosney with Yala Gosney Attorneys at Law. Have you ever had an insurance claim and thought, wow, I really am in good hands, or these folks truly are treating me like a neighbor? Well, that's where we can help. We'll deal with the stress. We'll get you back to your normal life. So save our number in your phone, and if you're ever hurt in a wreck, Call or text us at 405-800-8080. It's 405-800-8080.
I'm Oklahoma Sooner quarterback John Mateer. My job is to move the ball down the field and get the Sooners across the goal line. If you've been injured in an auto accident, you need a pro to be the quarterback of your medical care needs. Dr. Martin Lopez and the OKC Car Crash Clinic are your premier teammates to help you on your road to recovery. Dr. Lopez is a specialty trained MD with decades of experience. Make your best play call and contact Dr. Lopez at 405-86-CRASH. That's 405-862-7274 or visit okccrash.com.
This Thanksgiving season, the team at Confidence Chevy Buick GMC is thankful for our family, our community, and amazing deals. You can drive home in a 2025 Chevy Silverado 1500 with 20% savings, or a GMC Sierra 1500 with 25% off MSRP on select models. Save $3,750 on a Buick Envista with 0.9% APR and no payments until March 2026. Visit us today at 6100 Tinker Diagonal, Confidence Chevrolet Buick GMC, a Cavender family dealership where confidence is Cavender.
It's almost Thanksgiving, and we wanted you to know how grateful we are for you, the Ref Army.
Hey, it's Mike Steele. Happy Thanksgiving, you filthy animals. Oh, wait, that's Christmas. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, it's Chris Plank with The Plank Show. I'm thankful for you, and I hope you are able to spend the Thanksgiving holiday with loved ones. Thank you so much for being a part of the Ref Army. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Hey, it's Tyler McComas with The Rush. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I'll tell you what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for a physical, punishing, relentless, suffocating defense. Oh, yeah, and of course you guys as well, the Ref Army. So thankful for you every single day. Happy Thanksgiving to all.
Hey, Ref Army, it's Dari Noka wishing all of you a phenomenal Thanksgiving and full Thanksgiving week. Appreciate all you do for us here on the Ref.
From our entire team here at the Ref, happy Thanksgiving, Ref Army. Take the Ref with you everywhere you go this Thanksgiving with the KREF app. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
What does VA mean to me?
A place for my daughter to call home, thanks to the VA home loan.
A new lease on life. The best healthcare team I've ever had is here at VA.
And education, and the opportunity to open doors I never thought possible with my GI Bill.
The financial support I need to manage the disabilities I developed because of my service.
Get what you earned. Visit choose.va.gov.
Not all veterans are eligible for the type or amount of benefits mentioned here.
How do you give hope to a child in the foster care system? It starts with your heart. That tug you feel on yours when you hear that children are waiting for a stable, loving voice to speak up for their best interests. And then it becomes your time. What started out as a feeling that maybe you could make a difference becomes the difference. Change a child's story. There is a child waiting for a volunteer like you.
Contact South Central CASA at 405-360-5295.
Hey y'all, I'm Kelly Clarkson. Every American dreams of creating a better life for his or her family, but in some communities, those dreams face difficult challenges. When we come together to help those in need get the same opportunities as everyone else, we truly are making our country a better place to live for all of us. So look for volunteer opportunities in your community to help others achieve the American dream, all right? This message is courtesy of the United States Air Force.
Via the text line, 405-651-3439, the Waffler hit us up to say, hey, babe, I bought an 85-inch TV today to put in the movie room so we can put the 75-inch outside. Just a heads up. Thank you, Waffler. I don't know who you're calling babe. I know it's not me. I'm going to assume, therefore, that it is Grayson.
I hope to God it's not me. I love it when the texters let us in on their personal lives.
That was either a text that was intended for somebody else or the Waffler and Grayson have a spicy secret relationship that none of us are currently apprised of.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is today's nonsense.
Speaking of nonsense, give me some circus music, Grayson Singleton, because, boy, this is peak nonsense. This might be the nonsense of the year. I'm sure many of you have already seen this. because it's been all over everyone's feed on Twitter.com. But the infamous Jeff Ketchum has spent the last 72 hours digging himself a deeper and deeper and deeper hole.
Yeah, this is wild.
So, in case you missed it, somehow, and I guess if you're not on Twitter.com, you would have missed it. If you're not on Twitter.com, I envy you. But Jeff Ketchum, who is the owner and publisher of OrangeBloods.com, covering the University of Texas, tweeted at Eddie Radosevich last December and basically offered him a bet. Hey, if OU wins over 8.5 games next season, I'll donate $1,000 to the Boys and Girls Club of Norman. If OU wins under 8.5 games, you donate $1,000 to the Boys and Girls Club of Austin. And Eddie never acknowledged, or I don't know if he ever even saw the tweet. Never acknowledged it, never took the bet, whatever. Anyway, Oklahoma wins their 9th game of the season over the weekend, obviously. And Eddie, because he's Eddie, digs up the tweet, quote tweets it, and said something like, "Would like to revisit this. The Boys and Girls Club of Norman thanks you for your donation." And Eddie himself has said, obviously, didn't really expect him to pay up on it, just having fun with a cold take of his.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But Mr. Ketchum lost his mind at that point. Started rage tweeting himself into the hole to which he has only shoveled more and more dirt out of the last couple of days. Recorded like a 3-minute video in very poor taste.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Where essentially he's like, well, sorry to all the boys and girls that were hoping for Christmas gifts.
Which is a wild thing to begin with, too.
Absolutely wild. Like, he thought that was funny, too. Like, he actually put that on the internet and thought, you know what? This is going to be a hit. This is going to be a banger. People are going to think I'm hilarious.
Oh, man.
So, goes on this whole rant about how Eddie is a coward and therefore the boys and girls won't be getting their Christmas presents this year. How unfortunate. Gets buried by not only OU Twitter, but college football Twitter at large. Like Barrett Salier is quote tweeting him. Brooks Austin is quote tweeting him. Everybody just piling on. Like, hey, dude, this is a terrible look. And he's doubling down and tripling down and trying to spin himself as the good guy. Trying to do anything he can to salvage what's left of his reputation in certain corners of the internet and the college football world. But my favorite installment of this whole saga is this. This happened yesterday. Yesterday afternoon. He said via Twitter, of the nearly $6,000 that has been raised this far, I guess I should set the scene here. He somehow spun it into, oh, let's all get together on Twitter and turn this freezing cold take of mine into an opportunity to raise some money. I'm going to drop a link. We'll do a fundraiser. Like, the fundraiser that Eddie has spun out of this has made like $20,000 for the Boys and Girls Club of Norman, which is great. But Jeff kind of did the same thing to try and save face. And I guess certain people have been donating throughout the week. But he tweeted yesterday and said, of the nearly $6,000 that has been raised this far, almost $2,000 will go to the Boys and Girls Club of Norman. Help us get there. And he drops the link again. And immediately everybody in his replies is like, dude, what's happening to the other $4,000?
Right.
What are you talking about? Folks, this is only the latest in a string of highly public internet missteps, and that's putting it very mildly, from Jeff Ketchum. This is an individual that is an internet OG, started a message board like 25, 30 years ago when the internet itself was still in its infancy, and he just subsists these days because he has probably the largest message board on the internet. I don't know. Get the circus music going again.
Oh,
I'm not done here.
Oh, okay.
I am not done here. But like Orange Bloods is huge. It's an enormous media entity. And he has employees that do good work. He does. His message board is huge. But he himself is just constantly making a fool of himself on all corners of the internet, most ostensibly Twitter.com. And I just can't help but wonder, in order to do the work of being a journalist, you have to maintain sources. That's like a fundamental aspect of being a journalist is you have to have sourced relationships with people in the know who trust you. And I have no idea how this guy would possibly be maintaining any sourced relationships at this point, because at a certain point, people just lose respect for you. People just say, you're a clown, you're a fool. I don't want anything to do with you. And maybe he's at the point where he can just rely on his employees to keep up those sourced relationships, and he can just sit at home and tweet and record clickbait YouTube videos. But if there's anyone listening from the city of Austin, the Texas fan base, I know we have at least a couple Longhorn fans that listen in on a regular basis. Why, I don't know. But they do listen in and they will text us. Folks, this is one of those people where I'm like, why would you give him your money? Why would you pay your hard-earned money to someone like this? It's always a great day, regardless of whether you subscribe to orangebloods.com or not. It's always a great day to choose not to amplify the garbage spewed by a self-righteous pseudo-journalist who isn't credentialed to cover events in person. He's like famous for this down at Texas. Hasn't covered an event in person in like 15 years. And consistently demonstrates that he's a bad actor. Which, now that I say that, is every bit as true of a certain individual that portrays himself as an OU media member here in Oklahoma as it is of Jeff Ketchum. But that's neither here nor there. Folks, Jeff Ketchum takes the cake. Not only the nonsense of the week, not only nonsense of the day, this might be nonsense of the year. We got 5 weeks left in 2025. So we'll see. But this is the height of nonsense that I have witnessed this calendar year. Any thoughts?
I've been following this saga forever. I mean, as long as it's been going on. I saw the first one when Eddie, went and said, hey, can we revisit this? And then I saw the first video, and I was like, oh boy, this isn't going to be good.
I try to believe the best about people. I try to see the best in people. It's legitimately like, and to a fault, it has burned me in the past.
I feel like it's burned everybody.
But people like this, how? Why? What? I'm done. I'm tapping out. 405-651-3439 if you want to fire any last-minute texts at us before the show wraps up. Couple things I do want to address before we're done here. Oklahoma is hosting official visitors this weekend. I do not expect Messiah Mickens, who had scheduled an Oklahoma OV for this weekend several weeks ago, to be one of the guys that makes it in. After Oklahoma landed Jonathan Hatton, well, there's no longer really a need for Messiah Mickens in the class, and he was at Virginia Tech this past weekend. Feels like the reunion with James Franklin there is going to be what comes to pass for Mickens. But couple names to be mindful of heading into the weekend. Noah Abibi, 3-star offensive lineman from Friendswood, Texas, that we have discussed in great detail. I think he winds up in Oklahoma's class. I will be interested to see what happens with Jonas Muya, the 3-star offensive lineman from Fort Wayne, Indiana. He is also OVing this weekend. First year playing organized football for him, 6'7", 280-pound tackle that Oklahoma would love to add. And then maybe the biggest wild card of the bunch. 3-star defensive end Malik Franklin from Daphne, Alabama. I know precious little about this recruitment because the kid just, doesn't talk. And with kids that just don't talk, you have to go see them in person. And that was easy for me to do with a kid like Grant Bricks a couple years ago who's from Logan, Iowa, which is 45 minutes from where I grew up. So I could make that trip and go see my family all in one clean shot. But I don't really have the time or the margin to get out to Daphne, Alabama to tap in with Malik Franklin. So here's what I know. He's from the Mobile area. Jim Nagy has deep ties in the Mobile area. I'm going to trust that Jim Nagy does what it takes and has the right relationships and right connections to be able to get this thing done with Malik Franklin. So that's kind of your 90-second official visit primer going into this weekend, but don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if there are other visitors that materialize. I guess Jonathan Hatton is also going to be in this weekend for his official visit. He never got the chance to take one, but
may as well do it now, right?
He's going to take one now. We'll continue to break it all down throughout the week as Oklahoma prepares for one final big recruiting weekend before signing day. For Grayson, Singleton, I am Parker Thune. Here on this Tuesday, we are done. Tyler and Ted coming up next here on The Rush, or I should say here on The Ref. The Rush is on tap. This is the home of Sooner fans. Keep it